If you feel like grief has pulled you out of time, if the loss still feels recent, if it's part of life is feeling unreal, you're not alone.
You're not alone. There are aliens out there. No, I'm joking.
Let's take great care in writing this.
Sorry. Grief creates its own timeline. As you said before, it's not linear, and healing does not mean leaving someone behind in the past. It means that we learn how to live with the love that exists across time.
It's a dead center.
Hello and welcome to It's a Death Sentence. I'm Emma Skip.
And I'm Carrie Smith.
Still
Every
week, week in and week out.
Doesn't change.
No, it doesn't. Today we're talking about how time warps through loss.
And doesn't it just?
It really does. So people rarely explain this properly when it comes to grief. And that's how loss distorts time. Grief doesn't move in a straight line, and neither does time when someone dies. Many people describe grief as entering into some kind of time warp, where everything feels slowed down and sped up at the same time. I definitely agree with that. It's very odd. It's a very odd thing.
Odd sensation.
And you might feel like the moment you heard that the news happened 5 minutes ago, even if it was 5 years ago, I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a strange phenomena.
At the same time, entire months can disappear in a blur. So before you know it, they've been dead 6 months. And it's like your life becomes divided into two parts, like before they died and after they died.
Yeah.
Nothing quite feels real in the present, does it? And somehow we feel like the past is even closer than the current time.
Yeah,
It's very strange.
Grief disrupts our normal sense of time. Instead of life moving forward in a straight line, it becomes fragmented, full of pauses, loops, and sudden memories. And time can feel agonisingly slow, yet whole seasons pass and you barely remember them. Many people describe this period as a haze, which I definitely agree with, when you're functioning but not really present. Do you remember how time felt for you in the early days after hearing that you'd lost your brother?
It felt strange. It felt, in some parts, it felt like I was walking in time and space that wasn't real. Like it didn't feel like it was a reality. Like, I think when there's initial sort of drama around it all, it just doesn't feel real. It feels like you're in a film or something like that. It just doesn't feel...
Looking in on it.
Yeah, like you're sort of observing what's going on, but you're not actually feeling the emotion. Yeah. I think after that initial sort of shock, I became really aware of time. I'm really aware of time now.
Yeah. And
I feel like I think about what time I have differently.
Oh, that's interesting. So we're talking about like time, you're talking about there like how much time you have as opposed to like the sort of how we perceive time while we're in it. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, but I feel like my perception of that has changed.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I
feel like it's running out and we're getting closer to old age.
Death. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm just more aware that of the time I would waste. And like time seems to sort of, sometimes it feels like it speeds up and sometimes it feels like it's taking forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, I mean, that's normal. I'm assuming that's what everybody feels like. But I do think when you lose somebody and grief, it makes time very prominent in that early stages when you're still grieving. And then every year or month becomes like a landmark.
Yes.
Oh, it's another month. Yeah. Oh, no, now it's a year. Now
I think there's a lot of disbelief around that as well. Like, I don't know about you, but I sometimes find, what do you mean it's 6 months?
Yeah.
It's like, that's half a year.
That's where has that time gone?
But then now I'd also feel like that about my own birthday.
Yeah.
It's getting sooner and sooner.
Absolutely.
So the moment that you hear someone has died and the phone rings or someone tells you, it's often described as happening in slow motion, which is what you've just said, really. And it isn't just emotional language. It's actually recognised that when I did my research for this episode, Carrie, I really, really found this really
Did
interesting.
you go in a rabbit hole like you always do?
I went in a little rabbit hole. I dived deep down into that rabbit hole, but I found this really interesting because I think I'm very such a philosophical geek that I'm really interested in perception anyway, but particularly around grief and this warping of time. I found that, is that just something I've experienced? But it's obviously not. Lots of people do. But I was really interested to learn that it's a recognised psychological and neurological phenomena called time distortion or time dilation.
Oh, that dilation reminds me of childbirth.
I can only think of vaginal dilation
Yeah.
too. But I have
Cervix.
to have my eyes dilated
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Fixed and dilated means you're dead.
Oh, I'm not dead though. I'm definitely alive when they do it. It's quite painful. So they sting, Anyhow, we'll move on. So let's go back to that. So it's called time distortion or time dilation, but we're going to go distortion because we've discovered that we don't like the word dilation very much. When something traumatic happens, the brain temporarily stops processing time in its normal, steady way. Instead, it goes into emergency mode.
So that's like fight or flight response.
Yeah, basically.
So the brain comes hyper alert and tries to absorb as much information as possible. I suppose it's like when you see on the films that like someone's been taken and they're going, oh, he's got this, and they were able to describe who's taken them because they're in like survival mode.
Exactly that. So neuroscientists say that in these moments, the brain stores memories in an extraordinary way. So when we look back at that moment, it feels like it lasted longer than it actually did. And that's why people often will remember exactly where they were when they got the phone call, what they were wearing, the tone of somebody's voice, even what they were cooking, like really finite details that in any other, trying to recall any other memory that isn't as significant, you wouldn't be able, I couldn't even tell you what I did this morning.
Yeah.
Let alone
Do you remember the moment you were told about it's about your dad? Because I know that
I was with Mum.
you were with your mum, but like you just left.
Yeah, I do. And it's very, I always say doing this podcast, we should always be like as authentic as we can be. But, it is traumatic. I remember feeling horrendous guilt because it was about 45 minutes after I got back from the hospital. And I came back here and made a lovely meal and sat down and ate it and had my phone on silent. And I picked my phone up. My sister had given me loads of missed calls, so I knew something was wrong straight away. And then when I rang her, she was saying things to me like, you've got to get to the hospital. Something's happened with Dad. They won't tell me what it is, but it's not looking good. Now, when people use the phrase not looking good, I think it's like, going back to the actual, what you're asking me was, do I remember the moment I told, do you know what I really remember about that moment? Like, it's the weirdest thing ever. I was in the lounge and I had a friend here, thankfully, who was amazing. She was amazing. And I'm on the phone to Sophie and I'm trying to get my shoes on at the same time, right? Because I know I need to
You've
leave.
telling me this before.
And I'm howling. It's that, again, it's that very guttural thing that happens.
Visceral
really,
sound.
like, feels sick. And because I know he's dead. Nobody's telling me, but I already know. I already know because you do, And I've been in situations in hospitals where they're very reluctant to tell you what's actually happening. So if he wasn't dead, he was probably going to die. That's how I was looking at it. And I couldn't get my shoes on, couldn't tie my shoelaces. I just couldn't compute looking at my feet and the friend I was with came in and tied my shoelaces for me, put my shoes on. And that's, that's what I mean about the finite detail. In what other situation would you ever remember something as, So grief makes time feel elastic and it stretches, stops, collapses completely. While the rest of the world moves forward, there's another one, isn't it? In those moments or days after grief, you're like, how is the world? Why is this person in Tesco's just doing their thing?
Or laughing.
Yeah.
How dare you laugh at my grief?
And you feel stuck. It's like you're walking through the thick mud or molasses while everyone else is running ahead.
I think one of the strangest parts is that just happened feeling, isn't it? Like I said, for me, it just didn't feel, it felt like I was just observing, like it wasn't actually happening to me.
Like I stood on the peripheral almost. Like looking in,
And even months or years later, it can feel like the death only happened yesterday still. So, you can be thrown straight back into it without without any warning, like you said, you could see somebody in the supermarket who looks like your mum, and it can just throw you back into that moment.
That's exactly right. I mean, I know this is a phrase I use all the time, but grief isn't linear. And I think if there's one piece of advice I would ever give to anybody who's recently bereaved is it isn't linear. Don't expect it to be. Because I think if you can get your head around that, it's really helpful. You know, how you bounce back from one thing to the other, from like absolutely horrifying, can't get out of bed, don't know what's going on, to being all right and going to do the school run and going to, you know, make some soup or, you know, just real mundane stuff. It's not linear. It doesn't have this kind of prescriptive way of, on day one, you'll feel like this, and in a week's time, to a greater or lesser extent, there is a sort of theme, isn't there, that runs, it does get a bit easier as time goes on, but it isn't at all like when you read certain things. I think there's less of it around now, but I think you used to read a lot about these 7 stages of grief, and we were kind of expecting to go through them at certain times. It just really isn't like that. So it comes like in waves. Don't gradually move further away from loss in a neat and tidy way. It sometimes feels like the past is closer than the present. Have you had any moments where it suddenly felt recent again?
I think it definitely still comes in waves for me. I mean, I've not lost a parent. I've lost a mother-in-law, which is awful.
Yeah.
But the grief I felt losing my brother has still had a massive impact on me. And I still get tearful. I feel like I'm getting tearful now. I still do get very tearful about it. Stupid things that just trigger it. So,
what things that remind you?
Yeah, sometimes. And yeah, I still, even it's 6 months now, around about 6 months, and it still feels like we did an episode.
Like disbelief? Do you feel like that?
A little bit, yeah. I still feel like that about my mother-in-law. Yeah. She's been dead a while.
Years.
Yeah. Quite a few years now.
I just feel it's like we're not equipped to really comprehend it. It is that you know, the word loss, we know what it means. That person has died, but actually you've really lost them out of your life.
Yeah.
You've lost them being present continually in your life, and that you don't know where they are. Like,
yeah, it's a very strange feeling, but definitely I do have moments still where I feel like I'm right back at the beginning of my grief journey.
Yeah, I imagine.
And they're fleeting. They're not as long. They don't last as long as they did.
But it is still early days.
Yeah, like for instance, when we were on the radio the other day, like afterwards I cried.
Yeah, because it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
it's the both. You know, I'm always going on.
Yeah,
it's the
sadness chaser. Yeah,
the sadness chaser, but it's both. And actually, I wonder sometimes. I don't know about you. I'm going off here a bit, but I sometimes feel like we know that experiencing grief often makes you more compassionate, but it also makes it more true when you do experience something that isn't sad, that is really good. You know, it is the sadness chaser because it's, you know, essentially we want the podcast to be successful. We want to help other people. But with that, you know, the reason the podcast came about was sad,
yeah.
You know, because you were looking at what time your brother had left, and that, you know, it's awful. It's an awful way to feel, but, you know, then you're getting something good out of it, and we're providing, we hope, a service to people, which is also useful.
Yeah.
But
it's just hard, isn't it?
It's both.
It's strange.
It is, it's both. After the initial shock, people notice something else happens where time becomes blurry and weeks merge together. You struggle to remember what you did or when things happened.
I think one reason for that is the loss of routine, and like when someone dies, like your daily life changes. I definitely know that, you know, in that instance when it first happens and all the family together and lots of people there, it's just all about that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the funeral, it's all about that. And it's not about daily life.
Yeah. It's almost...
And you're sort of out of that routine, and then it's hard to measure time because you don't know what day it is. You don't know, you know, what would I be doing at this time? It doesn't matter because all that matters right now is what's happening right now.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because on the one hand, everybody comes together, which is actually really comforting, can be quite nice. And then you've got plans. There's things that you have to do. You know, we've done this in the other episodes. The practicalities of what you do after that person has died. And if you're doing that with family, you've still got structure. It's not a routine, but it's structure. So we still operate really well within structure, don't we? Mm. But after that, usually comes the
what now?
The shock of it. What on earth do I do now? Yeah. The other thing is brain fog.
Oh, I hate brain fog.
I mean, I think lots of people want to attribute it when people at our age to being, you know,
menopausal,
perimenopausal. I feel a bit sick when people use that word. I think it's bandied around too much. But brain fog will occur in anybody at any time if they're overwhelmed, if they're fucked, if they are absolutely, totally traumatized, overwhelmed, overworked, stressed, whatever. Brain fog occurs when your brain is overloaded. So it really does my head in when it's only attributed to our age group as being hormonal, because
and women,
yeah.
I think men get it as well. Did you have brain fog? I definitely did, and I still do occasionally.
Through
the grief. Yeah,
I still do, definitely. Maybe it is my I don't know.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah, maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both.
But yeah, I think there's just so much going on that you can't expect your brain to rationalise and be operating in the logistic way that you would normally expect from it. You can't do that. You're asking it to do loads of different things it's not really used to doing all of the time. Anyhow, this brain fog is apparently, again, this is my research, I found this interesting, it's a protective mechanism, which does make sense. Your mind cushions you from the full impact of reality.
Okay.
It goes like that. No, fuck it. No, thank you.
Let's make it all fuzzy in here.
Yeah,
this is too real. She's getting too real.
But the side effect is confusion, forgetfulness, and a strange sense that time isn't quite real. And there are some common ways that this time warp will show up. So other than the brain fog, you might feel frozen in the moment that the person died, which I think, I don't know if I feel frozen. Did you feel frozen?
I don't think no, not for me. But I can understand why somebody would be stuck in that moment.
It depends on the type of death that person has had, perhaps.
Yeah, I wonder if it's trauma related.
Yeah, maybe. Like minutes last forever. I think you experience that in the very early stages. I don't think I experience that now. Do you?
No, not as much.
Like entire months disappeared. Yes, 100%.
I mean, part of me thinks that's just life,
and it's aging as well.
Yeah,
That's
and
definitely...
it's relative to age, isn't it? Because the older we are, the quicker time feels like it's moving because we've got less time left than what we've already had.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid and you go
hurtling towards death.
Absolutely, again hurtling towards death. But when you're a kid and you go, oh, you know. You're not having that. You're going on the 6 weeks holiday and, you know, you've got 6 weeks till you go on holiday.
I remember that feeling that's like...
And as a kid, you're like, oh my God, that's ages and it's ages away.
Yeah.
As a parent or an adult, you're like, bloody hell. Yeah.
Next 6 weeks, like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember being a child. I'm deviating again here, you know what I'm like, but like that beautiful, blissful feeling of breaking up from school, and it was like an eternity.
It felt like 3 months, didn't it? It was
absolutely. So entire months disappeared. It's divided into a before and after. So your life,
like BC, DC,
or a BD,
before death and after death.
Yeah. You know, I think for me there is a bit of that. So particularly, I can't really. Yeah, it's different with my mum and dad, really different. But you know, before all my memories, before my mum died, I won't say they're all really happy, but I had a beautiful childhood. I was very blessed, you know, and for the most part they were good, you know. But hence the I know we refer to this episode a lot, the sadness chaser. That definitely was a thing that was so apparent to me, that the way I experience joy after somebody significant dies is different, forevermore. It doesn't mean you can't get it back, but it's hard to do. You have to be really get some counselling, get some therapy in that. And you can be pulled back by intense memories. Yeah. Oh, good. Would you say those memories? For me, they tend to be quite memories of being much younger. What about with your
Yeah,
brother?
sometimes. Yeah, because probably that's when I spend most time with him.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
So, you know, like, I don't know, The Goonies will be on, or Labyrinth, or anything from the 80s. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
anything like that. And it does remind me of him.
Yeah. And then you can become emotionally and physically exhausted, which,
And it's me all the time.
yeah, well, your job's pretty hardcore, isn't it? I think I sometimes put off crying because I find it so exhausting.
Like you schedule it.
Literally do. I think, have I got the time this afternoon to be sad? Because I've got to get the kids at 3 and I can't be doing with a headache on the stool. I mean, that's definitely not a healthy way to look at things, but it is a practical way to look at things, isn't it? So one important thing to say is that all of this is completely normal. It's a natural response to something that is completely unnatural. Finding anchors in time. This is the subheading, finding anchors in time. I read a bit about this and I don't know, I'm open to what you think about it because I don't know whether I ever found anchors in time. But one of the gentlest ways to cope with this distortion is by allowing flexibility. The way I look at it is you haven't really got any options.
You're in it now, so deal with it. But little things can help, little small routines. So like, you know, having your morning coffee ritual or
17 cups of coffee.
which is me. Walking at the same time every day.
Yeah.
You know, getting out and doing something, keeping little regular meals, small structures and anchor you like in the present, especially if you've got small kids. And those little anchors probably will be like the schoolroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing
the normal stuff.
Doing the stuff that
Yeah.
sort of has to be done and actually is a privilege to do.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
you know, we sort of go, oh, I have to do that rather than I
look
get to
forward
do
to
that.
it, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's sort of those little small things maybe help anchor us.
And support. Obviously, we know that support is crucial. So talking to friends, family or professionals can help make sense of what often feels overwhelming and disorientating. What helps anchor you? Red wine.
Red wine and crime documentaries.
I think it's say red wine and crying.
Oh, I'm crying in the bath or shower. I definitely felt the impact of exercise.
Yeah. 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 I
I
agree.
felt when my brother was dying because he had cancer, whilst I was leading up to him dying, that running definitely helped me cope with the pre-grief grief. And afterwards,
Just got this visual image of you running away from somebody holding a big sign saying grief.
yeah, that would be me, literally running to get some quietness in my head.
Yeah. Trying to get away.
Yeah. So exercise massively helped improve my mood, definitely was good for my mental health and gave me a little bit of a focus and allowed me to focus. I felt like my head was really noisy the whole time. I'm a bit of an overthinker and I was overthinking like every scenario. Stupid things like waking me up, and the running was the only thing really and making it a mission to do the podcast and make sure that went well.
Yeah.
Those two things were the only thing really that kept me
Interesting.
from
I wonder
losing my
whether
rant.
The running particularly, because you could just say exercise, but it's interesting that you've chosen running. And I'm guessing, but if I was thinking about, because I do a lot of exercise and I enjoy it by the most part, I enjoy how it makes me feel. I don't enjoy running, but I find it's one of the few things in exercise I have to be solely focused on apart from the music in my head. Like I'm so present because it's so hard.
And I always fall over. If I'm not present, I fall over.
So I wonder whether...
Maybe it's sort of like it sort of took me out of that a little bit. So definitely that was good for me. And then afterwards, like really my husband was fantastic at helping anchor me and doing...
Just hanging onto your shoulders.
Yeah, he was like, sit the fuck down. No, he was great. And probably because he'd been through grief himself, is in grief still probably. Yeah, that was it. You know, like family time.
Yeah.
This podcast and running combined basically made me get through
Able to cope with it.
that little bit of time that was unbearable.
Alongside this time warp phenomena, many people experience something else in early grief, a feeling of being removed from life. Like you're watching everything happen from a distance, which is exactly what you said earlier. And people often describe it as being in a daze, being in a dream, or feeling slightly unreal.
And psychologists actually have a name for these experiences.
Okay.
One is called disassociation, which means feeling separated from what's happened around you.
Okay, very
Which
interesting.
I can get on board with. Well, I feel like that's a trauma response.
So here is a very slight deviation that wasn't going to come into the episode, but again, you know, if we're going to be super authentic. So when I got poorly a couple of years ago, they said I'd had a stroke, and they ummed and ahed about that, as you know. And, you know, to this day, I don't really know what happened, but I had seizures for about 18 months. And one theory called them dissociative attacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel like they think you're making them up.
Yes, that's exactly how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of...
That's right up there with pseudo seizures, which
Well,
are
that's
like
what they would have been called years ago.
pretend
And then they
seizures.
on some of my forms, it said non-epileptic seizure. So, you know, but then, you know, you get a different doctor who's maybe a bit more, I don't know. They're all really different. Like I say, I saw private doctors and NHS doctors, and the whole thing was very confusing. But yeah, I found that the wording dissociative attacks. So what they were trying to do, one theory was like, right, it isn't something that's happened physiologically, like a big bleed in your brain. We can't write it off completely, but we don't think you've had this, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. We can't see it,
So
therefore
then
we don't
they
know what
wanted
it
me
is.
to talk to a psychologist who took a massive history of my life and was like, okay, we think you've got chronic PTSD. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And I was like, and who doesn't when they get to this age, having gone through it? You know, that was my feeling about it. But I think what they were trying to do is attribute a load of symptoms that they couldn't find an organic, and I'm using the inverted commas there, organic cause for, to past events where you basically, again, brain overwhelmed, finds a way to disassociate from it. I honestly don't know to this day how I feel about that, because nobody in their right mind would want to experience that.
Yeah. It almost makes it sound voluntary, doesn't it?
It's exactly that,
Or
Kat.
it makes you feel like it.
Yeah.
They sort of say, well, yeah, she's being hysterical. She's a woman.
And do you know what's really interesting is, so eventually they changed the diagnosis from stroke to something called functional neurological disorder, which is like a big umbrella
Yeah.
term. But years and years and years ago, before they decided to call it, you know, functional neurological disorder for anybody who's got something going, it's basically the messages in the brain aren't doing the circuit properly. They called it hysteria. And only women got it.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Anyhow, so, you know, I've deviated, but I felt it was really interesting, that word disassociation, because I feel like in grief, I don't think I know many people who've described any type of bereavement as, oh yeah, I felt really present and close to the moment all of the time.
No.
I don't think that happens. So depersonalization is another word that happens. Like you're watching yourself from the outside, which is exactly what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Almost like you're in a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And derealization, where the world feels strange or dreamlike.
I think dreamlike
Things
might
look
suggest
normal.
it's like nice.
Yeah, or nightmarish.
Yeah.
They look normal, but they don't feel real, which also I can associate with that.
Yeah. There's an emotional numbness where you know you should feel as devastated, but you can't access the feelings yet. Now, I sometimes wonder whether I'm still like that regarding my dad's death. So with my mom, 10 years ago, and she was young, and it happened quite quickly, relatively quickly, and, you know, all those, I was quite vocal and I was quite devastated, and it was quite visceral and obvious. But with my dad, I'll cry from time to time, but mostly because I'm sad for him. I'm sad for the shitty way his life ended through dementia. But I don't think I've really done it for myself, because I cried for so long while we lost him to dementia. I don't think I can actually cry for him being dead.
Yeah. It's that build up though, isn't
that
it?
weird?
It's the grief before the grief.
Yeah, it's a weird situations we're in. I don't know whether that makes you emotionally numb or emotionally intelligent. Like, you've already done it. I don't know which it is. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like that emotional numbness is a grief response.
You do.
Some people do react that way.
Yeah.
I feel like some people are like, I can't take on any more, so
I'm not going to.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm closed for business.
Yeah. Maybe I'm closed for business.
I mean, maybe you are.
Wow. Just glance at my crotch.
We've just been talking about your dating app thing. So yeah, maybe you are. Maybe you should be closed for business.
I'm closed for business emotionally and sexually. Oh, God. Can't believe it. I might have to edit that. So, this feeling of detachment is actually the nervous system trying to protect you, which is what we touched on earlier. When loss is overwhelming, the brain temporarily reduces emotional intensity so you can keep functioning, because otherwise we'd just be a crying, slobbering mess on the floor, I suppose.
And it's part of the fight, flight or freeze response, as we said earlier, because death, obviously, you can't fight it and we can't run away from it. So
You can try.
sometimes, yeah, I can try I might run into it one day.
God.
And sometimes your brain, like you said, to protect you, just chooses to freeze.
That numbness can also give you time to process what's happened. It helps you work through practical things like phone calls, paperwork and funerals without collapsing under the emotional weight.
And once the adrenaline phase, then more people experience extreme exhaustion. I know for a fact that after my brother actually died, everybody was exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely, totally worn out.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it that, you know, you've got this overwhelming emotional response, but the actual practicalities of sorting out what happens after somebody dies and seeing that through, which, you know, in an ideal world is around a 2-week turnaround, but most of the time it's 3, sometimes 4. If body comes to coroner, it can be longer, can't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, all the time you're holding on, you're holding on to, because you can't really let it go until all the things are dealt with.
It's shocking.
Yeah. There are a few really important things to understand about this stage. Feeling numb or detached does not mean you didn't care. It often means the opposite. It means the loss is so significant that your mind has had to protect you.
And it doesn't mean you're going crazy.
Yeah.
You know, many grievers, people grieving, worry that people will think they're going crazy, but they're not. It's a sense of unreality, and it's actually a very common part of early grief.
And for most people, it is temporary. Over time, the numbness softens and emotions gradually become accessible again. Is that going to happen for me?
Let's hope so. Let's hope Tinder doesn't ruin you forever.
I've never been on Tinder.
Right, that's the only one I can think of, because I've never been on any of it.
Maybe I should. If you feel like grief has pulled you out of time, if the loss still feels recent, if it's part of life is feeling unreal, you're not alone.
You're not alone. There are aliens out there. No, I'm joking.
Let's take great care in writing this.
I'm so sorry. Grief creates its own timeline. As you said before, it's not linear, and healing does not mean leaving someone behind in the past. It means that we learn how to live with the love that exists across time.
Interesting.
Which is beautiful, actually.
Just recorded our first guided meditation. And that's its theme. That is the theme. So it is a guided meditation aimed to help you through your grief, but it is really about not leaving the person in the past and learning that love continues. Yeah, so it's a really beautiful theme, actually.
And it's free for all our lovely
It's
listeners.
free for all our listeners, and it's coming soon. With
Free for you.
Big thanks to Leon Payne, our producer.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, sometimes surviving grief simply means staying here long enough to start moving forward again. Grief doesn't live in ordinary time. The world counts years. Grief counts moments, the last conversation, the last normal day, the last time everything still felt safe. Somewhere inside you, the clock stopped, and part of you is still standing there, exactly where the news found you.
Oh, that's very beautiful.
Thank you, darling.
Because love doesn't fade according to a schedule. It does not move on politely. It stays quietly, persistently, out of step with everything else.
Eventually, life grows around the loss. New days arrive, new memories form, but underneath it all, time keeps a second record. one the world can't see.
Maybe that's what living with grief really is. Not moving forward and not moving on, just learning how to exist.
Because somewhere inside you, there will always be a moment that never finished.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, but this is how I felt when I wrote parts of this episode. So our listeners will know that some of our episodes are completely unscripted and they tend to be a little bit funnier. And some are partly scripted and some are partly written. And some are, we have questions that we ask each other. But I hope that you enjoyed that. I found doing the research for it really interesting, just from a personal point of view.
It was lovely.
But do we need to leave on something upbeat? Shall I get up and do a dance?
Please don't.
Huh.
And maybe we should go through your dating history. No, I'm joking. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.